Welcome to Utah Stories Top 5. So today's program, I wanted to focus in on the question of what should be done about all of the illegal immigrants in Utah. It's a big question, and it's already generating a lot of buzz online. I saw there was a debate between Phil Lyman, who's running for governor, and Salt Lake District Attorney Sim Gill. Phil Lyman thinks we need to do mass deportations. District Attorney Sim Gill says that is inhumane. I don't really know what we need to do. I'm actually pretty neutral on this. I do not believe that we need to treat all illegal immigrants as American citizens, because obviously there's a process people need to go through to become American citizens. My wife went through that process. It was a long, difficult process. It took years, and that's how it needs to be. But what we're going to be doing about all these illegal immigrants who flooded the border, I believe there's 11 million new illegal immigrants that have come since Biden became president. That's the big question. We're going to get to that later in the program. Welcome to Utah Stories Top 5. So our other 5 headlines we've got for today are the Utah women's basketball team moving on to the next round, big developments in downtown Salt Lake City. The Utah State Legislature refuses to release Lawmaker's public calendars, which is terrible. Zero transparency. Number 4, criminal illegal immigrant gangs are preying on elderly St. George residents. And what does it mean to be a rock climber and try to live in Moab? That's something I've been looking at. How do these rock climbers, these guides, the working class folks live and survive in Moab? But before we get to our headlines, be sure to smash the like button and subscribe to our channel. And today's episode is brought to you by Utah Stories Magazine. Did you know for $3 a month, you can support our intrepid local journalism? You can help us investigate these big issues that are really impacting the quality of life in Utah. And number 1 for us is affordable housing. I believe the iGens and the Gen Zs are getting shafted. When I was their age, I was able to get a $9 an hour job and buy a house. It's unbelievable. And I bought a house and I filled it with roommates. I built equity, I built wealth, built independence, which enabled me to start this business. Everybody should be able to afford to live the American dream. We should not own nothing and be happy, as the Davos folks would like it. So by supporting our local journalism, we will continue to ask that question, answer the question, and get to the bottom of why we cannot provide affordable housing, especially for young people, elderly people, who have been priced out of the market. All right, but let's dive into our first headline and story. The Utes women basketball team is moving on to the next round. The Utah women's basketball team secured a 68-54 victory against South Dakota State at the NCAA tournament first round and will move on to the second round. Despite a strong start with a commanding 20-30 lead in the first quarter, Utah faced a setback in the second quarter, allowing SDSU to have a 17-0 run. Nevertheless, they won. I think it's awesome. And it just underscores the fact the men's team has been in this drought since 2016. They have not even gone to the NCAA tournament. While I was at the U, it was Michael Doliak, Andre Miller, Keith Van Horn, Rick Majerus as coach, and we went to the championship game against Kentucky. I looked back, that was in 1998. It was incredible. Why can't the Utes athletic program get their men's basketball team in league with the women's team? The women's team's doing so awesome. I'd love to hear your comments. What are they doing wrong? Why can't we get in the tournament? All right, big developments in downtown Salt Lake City. What is changing in Salt Lake City's skyline? The Astra Tower, if you haven't noticed, it's this giant tower. It's Utah's tallest building. Utah Stories went to the grand opening of this last year. Worthington Tower on the northeast corner of 200 East and 300 South in Central City is well on its way to completion. It's another new huge tower. South Temple Tower is beginning construction. The Texas-based developer is calling on the Office to Residential Conversion project called Seraph. It's likely in homage to Seraph Young Ford, the first woman to cast a ballot in the United States. The Utah Theater as we've reported, is just a hole. Can't believe this isn't getting more coverage. The Heinz Corporation was supposed to build what was going to be Utah's largest residential tower. They've completely abandoned the project, it appears. But it's just incredible that we now have a hole instead of one of the most historic buildings that was in downtown Salt Lake City. We've had Michael Valentine on talking about this investigation. A local developer gave money to the mayor's campaign. He got the building. He sold it to Heinz, made a lot of money. It's just developers' corruption is the norm in downtown Salt Lake City, and I'll tell you why. Because the Salt Lake Tribune, they do a great job at other stuff, but they are not doing a great job in covering the corruption. And just so you know, Utah Stories, we never set out to do investigative journalism, do what the work that, you know, the newspaper should be doing. This is a magazine about where to go, what to see, how to have fun. But I feel like there's this giant gap in getting the truth. And big development projects are not being revealed. Who's financing them? Who are the politicians getting sort of paid off through campaign contributions by letting these developers get their projects fast-tracked? We would love to look into that more because it's just pathetic. And then, as we reported a couple weeks ago, the Miller family, wonderful family, wants to build Major League Baseball stadium. We just gave them billions of dollars of tax subsidies rather than putting that money toward affordable housing here in Salt Lake. So number 3, the Utah State Legislature refuses to release lawmakers' public calendars. This was funny because during the last legislative session, the Republican-controlled legislature passed SB 240, which exempts lawmakers and state employees' calendars from public record laws. So they took the Utah Attorney General to task by revealing his calendar, the Salt Lake Tribune did, under the grandma request, and exposed that he had been going jet setting to all these amazing locations. He had been going hunting in Texas for wild boars. He had done all these fun, fancy trips. Then the Utah State Legislature, rather than saying, let's hold ourselves more accountable, they said, oh, let's make sure that doesn't happen to us. And they close off their calendars for public records requests. Unbelievable corruption. Again, this should be getting more news attention. It's just a way for lawmakers to justify lavish trips, payoffs, buyouts by their corporate interests to give them more money and make them rich. That's in my opinion. And there's more to this story. Go check out utahstories.com. I'm not going to read the whole story. Next headline, criminal illegal immigrant gangs are preying on elderly St. George residents. Thieves, including those from foreign countries and with gang affiliations, are causing havoc in Washington County, Utah, particularly among the Interstate 15 corridor. They employ tactics such as distraction theft and smash and grabs, targeting shoppers, business owners, and even churchgoers. Police in St. George, Washington City, and Hurricane have arrested members of these traveling theft rings, often carrying fake passports. The thieves typically operate in pairs or small groups, distracting victims while stealing valuables. They also engage in scams, such as offering fake jewelry and gas money. The thing that I saw that was interesting also in this story is you have the illegal immigrants crossing the border, wanting to come in just so they can have work opportunities. These are a separate group of people who enter the country as gang units, knowing that they are going to go in and easily commit crimes against the most vulnerable people in the United States. These are a separate group of people, and this is just another side effect of our open border policies, that we're not keeping the stay in Mexico policy in effect, and it's just terrible, and we need to do something more about it. All right, number 5, what does it mean to be a rock climber in Moab? We had our Moab writer, Rachel Fixon, examine this. And she found married couple Ben and Hannah Riley are both devoted rock climbers. They both have demanding full-time jobs. He's the executive director of a nonprofit that builds affordable housing and manages various complex housing programs. She's a physician assistant at Moab's regional hospital, but they found time to train and achieve lofty climbing goals. Now Ben and Hannah are parents of a 7-month-old daughter, Skylar, but they still want to be make climbing a central part of their lives. Go to utahstories.com to read the rest of the story. Rachel profiled 3 climbing couples and show how they're carving out their lifestyle in Moab despite the ridiculously high housing costs there. People find a way to do what they want, maintain their passion for outdoor activities, maintain their passion for life, and still find balance. And it's a cool story. I recommend you go check it out. It's also in the current print issue of Utah Stories magazine. So our adventure of the day, this is really cool. There's a crater in Midway, Utah. It's this crater that goes down extremely deep, and you can scuba dive or snorkel down. You probably won't go to get all the way to the bottom because I believe it's about 80 feet deep. But it's called Utah Crater. Go to utahcrater.com. If you're a scuba diver or a snorkeler, it's just a really cool experience because it's unlike anything else you'll see. All right. Our question of the day, which I plugged at the beginning of the episode, what do we do with all the illegal immigrants? So this debate started up online again between Salt Lake City District Attorney Sim Gill and Phil Lyman, who's in the Utah State Legislature, now running for governor. I found it interesting because this will heat up, this debate. This is one of the most central debates to the future of our country and our future of our state. Phil Lyman tweeted, "Mass deportation is the only way to stop the hashtag Utah invasion." Along with graphic referencing illegal immigrants as well as undocumented immigrants, District Attorney Sim Gill took to Twitter and said on the March 23rd response to Phil Lyman's tweet, quote, "An appeal to stupidity is the explanation for this idiotic tweet, fearing naturalized American citizens voting. Pogo was right. Quote, we have met the enemy. The enemy is us." Do you know what POGO stands for? Pogo. I'll have to figure that out. Maybe if you know, you can comment below. But I think the point is that this is a very divisive issue. On the right, you have people who believe that correctly, sanctuary cities are running out of money. They're running out of resources. There's only a limited, it's obviously not an unlimited supply of housing and resources and emergency beds and shelter space. New York City is getting run amok by criminal gangs, as we reported, Washington County, criminal gangs, places like San Francisco, Los Angeles, Portland, Seattle, also a lot of the sanctuary cities, where they're giving sanctuary to illegal immigrants, they're suffering greatly. Do I feel bad for these illegal immigrants, especially the hardest working ones? Absolutely. I can identify why they come in this country. And so what do we do about it? I cannot say I know the answer. All I know is that we need to have borders. We need to have secure borders. I think that's anybody on the left or the right or independent has to agree with that. And we need to have a process that everybody goes through, so they cannot just live in our country illegally and have this second or third class citizen status that's just maintained. So I'd like to hear your comments below. Usually we get some excellent comments because I'd like to have a debate on this as we move toward the election. I'd like to know what is going to be the solution, especially in Utah. We don't have sanctuary cities, but we do have very, very expensive housing and very limited homeless resource centers. It's a major issue.
So POGO is the Project on Government Oversight. It's a nonpartisan, nonprofit organization based in Washington, D.C. that investigates and works to expose waste, fraud, abuse, and conflicts of interest in the U.S. federal government.
Okay, that's cool. Progress for, what is it called? What is the acronym again?
Project on Government Oversight.
Project on Government Oversight. The enemy is us. Huh. How does Sim Gill conclude that Pogo was right? We have met the enemy. The enemy is us. This is not America. It's a pervert. Oh, I guess we are the enemy if we think mass deportation is the answer. Okay, maybe it is. Maybe we are the enemy if we think that's the answer. I just don't know what is going to be the alternative solution. Open up new cities, start new cities. I don't know where we're gonna accommodate everybody, but it's a major issue. It's one we've got to contend with. It's going to be definitely heating up as we move closer to the election. Okay, so thank you so much for joining me today. Remember, if you like this content and you want to engage to a greater degree with your local community, go out and subscribe to either Utah Stories print magazine or our free digital newsletter. You can go out to utahstories.com and find that, and we'd love to send you either our print magazine right to your home for $3 a month, or just send you our free digital newsletter. All right, thank you so much for watching. We'll see you next time.